So here you go. This is the Fallout 4 Mini Nuke that I built. You can see all the details and stuff that I put into it. This is built out of a foam Easter egg that I found at Walmart for $2.50. I actually have, let's set that down right there. I actually have if I can get it out. This is what it started off as. Just that. It's regular old foam Easter egg. Yep. But that little bit right there at the top. So I had to build that up and make it more of a point. You can kind of see that it's not exactly perfect. But that's okay, because this thing was supposed to have survived a wasteland, nuclear fallout, and all that other kind of stuff, so you'd never know. But I first started building this up with hot glue, and that was a mistake, because you cannot sand hot glue. And then I tried to go the cheaper route, and I tried to build it up using body filler for model kits, and that stuff dries so freaking fast. Like, it was really only designed to fill in cracks for models, seams, things of that nature. But yeah, you start spreading that stuff on, and within 10 seconds it is unworkable. Like, you literally only get like 10 seconds, if that, of work time on that body filler. I should have just spent the money and bought Bondo. I probably would have gotten a better shape out of it. But, you know, for what it is, oh well. These little ridges are honestly just paracord. You can kind of see the, let me go around here. You can kind of see where, you know, I tried to fill in where they met and stuff like that. And like I said, it's not great, but, you know, hey, it functions. And from a distance, you know, you'd never know. But, so yeah, these little pieces right here, these little wedges are just, it's just foam from a foam mat that I had that I've been using, you know, for little work, stuff like that. This part right here, the bottom fin, that is actually just a cardboard tube. And it has been cut and sanded and filled in and painted, and you can kind of see the paper line right there, but I didn't fill it in on the back side right there because there was no reason to. And these little fins right here are actually Lexan. I got that from Home Depot. Home Depot. And it was like $3 for a sheet of Lexan, which actually isn't too bad. And that is a hunk of PVC that I cut out with a Dremel tool. And yeah, fitted everything together. And when I was building it, I kept all these three pieces separate because, you know, that way it made painting easier. And then I found this really, really cool vinyl transfer kit to where you could print images out on your computer and you could, you know, transfer them onto whatever you're working on. And it was intended, I found it in Hobby Lobby in the Pine Derby car aisle, but as you can see, it's transparent. If I can get the camera to focus a little bit here. But anyways, it's transparent. And that kind of disappointed me a little bit. I should have known better. And had I known, for some weird reason, that it was going to be transparent, I would have marked this little area off and I would have painted it white underneath. That way the sign would stick out a little bit more, but oh well. And as far as painting it went, at first I tried standard Creatix airbrush pigments, and those damn things, you have to have them very, very thin, and they just do not work right. It basically just beat it up on the surface. Well, originally what I did was there's a technique to where you can do, helps you do weathering, to where you paint the whole thing silver. And then once you paint that whole thing silver, you go back and you add toothpaste in little splotches all over it. And then you use your airbrush or a spray can, rattle can, and you go back and you spray everything. And when you go to wash it off, the toothpaste comes off and it reveals the nice silvery underneath. Makes it look like paint's chipped away. Well, unfortunately, the rattle can that I was using is oil-based paint because, it sticks really well, it dries pretty quick, and you can do, a simple thin coat and bam, it's done. Unfortunately, the paints that I was using for my airbrush, because I refuse to use oil paints in my airbrush, because in the past, when I was growing up, I used oil paints, and they ruin an airbrush. So I was using acrylics, and forgetting my lessons building models when I was a kid, sorry, trying to put a cigarette out here. Oil-based paint, oil-based paint or acrylic on top of oil-based paint, it just doesn't mix. It's even after the paint is dry and it's been sitting for a while, acrylic paint just beads up on top of oil-based paints. It just will not stick. Like, you can sand it and sand it and sand it. It doesn't matter. It's not going to stick. And it'll wipe right off. That's if you're airbrushing. Now, you can paint acrylic over oil-based paint, which is using a brush, which is what I did for the initial base coat. I went to Walmart, got some cheap 50-cent, craft paint, which I'm sorry, but to hell with using expensive paints, because expensive paints are expensive and, you're going to use a lot of it and there's no reason to. That shit takes way too long to dry, and I don't know. I prefer the quick drying craft paints. I think you can get really great detail, especially with these kind of models and stuff. So, but anyways, went to Walmart, got some craft paint, came back, and, started painting the whole damn thing in that kind of OD green, which I had to mix up myself. Thank goodness for color wheels, because color wheels will save your ass when you cannot find a specific color that you are looking for. So anyways, I base painted everything, and then I started masking off the areas, and I used my airbrush with those same 50-cent cheap-ass paints. I thinned them down just a little bit, because with the airbrush, now with airbrush pigments, they have to be thin. But with those cheap-ass acrylic paints, they actually have to be a little thicker to get good coverage. Otherwise, it's just going to do what I said earlier, which is beat up on the surface and take forever to dry. So that's how I got the colors of the yellow and the red, and then the red on the fins and all that stuff via, reference to game material from Fallout 4. So how I got the distressed look was various colors using the airbrush to go over the entire thing to give it some color variation, using, darker OD greens and some browns, some blacks. I masked off the areas to get the yellow and the red, and then I went in with silver, just really tiny bits of silver on a tiny little brush, and basically just randomly, very crappily, just added little bits of silver here and there to make it look like it was worn and distressed, of course hitting those little edges where, you would get paint chipping. as you can see right there. And then I went back over and I had a nice kind of orange for some rust, and you can kind of see the bit of rusting I did around where the paint is chipped, where it's discolored the paint. And then I went back in with some black and airbrushed, and then my final process was to put in the screws, do a solid black wash over the entire thing, hitting all those recesses, then going back with the airbrush and highlighting some more recesses to give it that kind of, dirty, grungy, grimy kind of look. And then once everything was finished, then I hit it with a nice thin coat of lacquer to seal everything in, also so that vinyl sticker, as crappy as it is, won't come off. And there you go. And it's roughly about the size of what it should be in the game. Might be a little bit bigger in the game. I'm not sure, because it is a game and there's no way to physically actually tell. And then, unless Bethesda sends me and says, hey, that should be bigger, well, this is about as best as I can get. So here you go. It's my little video from my Mini Nuke. Yay, Mini Nuke. Don't drop them. They go boom.